Hey there, my name is Gavin Weber. This is Dissolving the Illusion, and welcome. And I'll, from time to time, look over to the left because that's where I can see myself on my computer and looking into a different camera. But today is November 13th, it's Friday, and I have committed on this YouTube channel to do a video and share my experiences, how I'm studying, how I'm doing my best intentional self to incorporate and live A Course in Miracles principles. And I'm where I'm at in my journey, just like you. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've got it all figured out and everything I say is 100% spot on of what the Course teaches. But here I am, feeling called to share with you. And this week, something that I've been thinking about for a while is like, really like, what's my draw to spirituality? What's my like desire, my end goal, and why I've always been so intrigued by A Course in Miracles. And so I'm going to talk about, what I'm doing. And I had this thought recently of like, what superpower am I developing? And how am I doing that using A Course in Miracles? So I'm going to share how I'm doing that in my mind, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you, okay? So I'm going to take a step back real quick. What's happening in the physical world right now, as I like to talk it, the illusion world, is a lot of unrest, a lot of confusion, hurt, and you could really look at it as like healing, like what issues and problems and feelings that we have that, I would say are erroneous, that aren't true, but that we absolutely feel like are true and think are happening, are coming to the surface. And we've got a pandemic going on. And then because we're insane, we decided to create, an American election that is very polarizing with two couldn't be different candidates. And that brings up the need on both sides, I like to call it as sides, whether Democrat or Republican, a need to be right. And so when you need to be right, everybody justifies their position. And what's I find fascinating, if you look at 2016, like the Democrats were like, hey, gosh, I can't believe that Hillary lost. She won the popular vote. But, she conceded the night of the election. And, there was murmurs that there was cheating or whatever. But, the Republicans claimed, hey, it was a fair, and because they won, right? And now, very interestingly, the Democrats won. And it was close. Still, Biden won the popular vote by over 5 million, I think, has won the electoral vote. But Donald Trump is doing what he does and, fighting everything and arguing everything and, trying to disprove what the election was. So now the roles have a reverse, and that's always kind of been my issue with both sides is the hypocrisy. Like, when they do something like win the election, it was accurate. But when they lose the election, it was not accurate. And obviously there was cheating or fraud going on, right? Both sides do it. So I'm not making this political that way. But going back, that's what happens is like both sides really have their beliefs and really think their beliefs are so right and matter so much that they're only willing to look at anything that justifies their point of view. Okay, and this has been going on since the beginning of physical time, right? Wars, murder, killings, atrocities have been justified in the name of like, oh, like what we're doing is right. Hitler, I mean, we always wondered like, gosh, how is it possible? But you can kind of see it, like, if you get people along with like your viewpoint, regardless of anything that's accurate, um, you can convince people as long as you have enough things that they feel strongly convicted by and get them to do things that are amazing. And again, I'm not picking sides here. I'm pointing out the insanity that we all participate in. And that insanity is like this need to feel better about ourselves because we feel like something's lacking. And therefore, we'll go with a candidate, we'll make a decision, we'll do something that can be harmful to ourselves or to somebody else because we think that belief is correct and that it's worth it at some level. And it's not true. None of it's true. I mean, it's the world that we want to project because of, again, our belief about ourselves. And then we just get caught in that cycle of repeating the same thing. These same kind of elections, these same kind of, like drain the swamp, politics there's no such thing as draining the swamp. You might relocate the swamp, you might change the type of water and dirtiness of the swamp, but basically there's judgments and attacks and justifications that resemble in no way anything to do with love, okay? And I have a lot of spiritual friends that surprised me this election and have really taken a side. And it wasn't the side that I feel like they used to be on. And what's interesting is I view these people, my belief is that they're very open-minded. I respect their opinions. I feel like they are very loving. Yet now I'm observing the same behavior of justification. Like, because this candidate did all of these things over here that I agree with, I'm going to completely ignore all these other things that I probably don't agree with, and possibly the way that this leader acts and his behavior and his connection to love and coming from a place that looks like he cares about most people. But because of a few things that they agree on, everything else is justified. And I feel like that's where politics fails. Both sides, again, there's things I like and dislike about both, but that's how it gets perpetuated, is that the belief of enough things that you agree with the candidate on that everything else doesn't matter as much. And then therefore it gets vicious. People get angry. People so want to be right. They'll fight with their family. They'll fight with their friends. They will justify some insane behavior in the name of something that they really believe in. So if from a spiritual perspective, what I've learned is if I ever need to have politics that go the way that I think it should go in order to be happy, it's going to suck. If I ever need to know that same principle in any other area of my life, that you can't make something unreal that is from ego something that is perfect. I said in the last video, you can't rearrange the chairs, or you might have these incremental okay, we've had some advancement here, but ultimately it's an ego creation that our time and energy spent on trying to do something out there is a waste of time. And what A Course in Miracles teaches is that all healing is within. All healing comes from joining with God and remembering the truth of who you really are, which has nothing to do with this world. And that's scary for a lot of people. It's been scary for me. It's well, this is the world I see. This is the world I participate in. This is the world I believe. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make this physical world the way I want it to look, so then I can feel better about myself and be happy. And what has taken me many years to realize and to understand is it's a fruitless journey, that you're always going to have experiences of ups and of downs. You're going to have things go the way you want and things you don't go the way you want. You're going to love people and you're going to be disappointed by people. And the only way to ever rise above that is to understand that it's not true, that it's not happening, that it's a projection of your mind and what you believe yourself to be and are putting it onto other people, all stemming from the separation. So back to the superpower thing. Just a little bit of stuff about this week, a reminder of the election, like don't get caught up in it. Okay, do not worry, like, oh my gosh, is Trump gonna leave? Or oh my gosh, is he not gonna accept it? Or oh my gosh, like, are they gonna have to like escort him out? Or oh my gosh, it was all a fraud, and somehow, even though there's no evidence, we know that he cheated, and we've got people on affidavits, and that like, you watch Fox News or CNN or whatever, and like, oh, they said this and they're right, and I can't believe people would look at it this way. And that's the thing. They can't believe that you can't believe somebody else will see something different than you is the problem. Because there is no them. And that's insanity. And when we get caught up in this body and like that what we see on the news and what we think we see in this world is like truth. I mean, that's, I wrote a Facebook or an Instagram post this week. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I would love for you to too. I would love for you to comment on this video or like it, help me get it out there, watch every weekend, subscribe, by the way. But, I wrote that, I lost my train of thought, but that like, with this election, it's just about being right. And it's a search to nowhere. So let's go back to superpowers. I've often thought, especially recently in the last few weeks, it's like, what's my end game here? And, my son who's 13, we've watched a lot of like superhero movies. There's a ton of them, cartoon stuff, and watched a movie the other day called The Old Guard. And it's about these people who don't die for thousands of years, and they try to do all this good. No matter if they get shot or whatever, they don't die. And so they try to do all this good, and they live eternally up to a certain point, and then they've had enough, and then they die. And that's an interesting Holy Spirit projection. But so, I used to be attached on the superpower thing of like, gosh, it'd be, like that genie in a bottle, my 3 wishes. Like, oh, I wish for unlimited wishes. I would wish for, billions of dollars. I would wish to be happy. All these things, right? And when you look down on those things, or like superpowers of flying, or being able to shoot with something with your eyes, or time travel, there's always a connection to that of like power, okay? And that like if you had that power, your life would be drastically different and you would be happy. And somehow the lack and separation that you're feeling would be solved. And that it would change everything, okay? And what A Course in Miracles is, like literally, like in every imaginable way it can teach, is sharing you that, like you can have a superpower. You can create miracles. And one of the interesting things about like I'm learning is like before I got in A Course in Miracles, it's like, oh, miracles to me looked at like, like, oh, I can move mountains, which, okay. Oh, I could get anything to have happen the way I want. Okay. I could create the miracle like Jesus does in the Bible, feeding people, or, so it seemed like this cartoon idea of getting something and like people would be awed by me. Okay. And obviously, A Course in Miracles is not talking about that kind of superpower. That our creator, God, the universe, energy, I mean, there's just so many different ways to look at it, and people get caught up in that and don't. But it's something way, way more than that. That imagine having no need. of being right. Imagine knowing that you lack nothing. Imagine being able to manifest anything, but not needing to. And that's the thing that's always bothered me about manifestation is like when I used to so be in the law of attraction and teach it and coach it, it's wonderful. Yet it's similar to miracles in that it's the example and the experience of who you really are. And when you get into creating miracles, and I feel like I'm starting to get the grasp on it, changing your perception, and miracles appear and happen. And maybe not in the time or the way that you were hoping or whatever. But the allowance of that perception in mind and who you are and that reconnection and joining with God and truth changes the reality we think we're experiencing. That's power. Because there's nothing needing or to happen or lacking in that moment that you're expecting to happen to then get what you want. Because you've joined with God and you have, and remember that you all are and have what really matters. So as I look into developing my superpower, and all those years I was like, I want the house and the cars and, you know, this amazing family and friends and travel the world and airplanes and billions of dollars, that like I thought that power was like it mattered, like that people would respect me and that people would like look up to me and that I could do anything I wanted at any time, and that freedom was the answer. And the more things I manifested, the more I realized there was just always something else to manifest, that there was still a lack there, that I still wanted something else, that like I was getting my meaning and my purpose from that process of manifesting rather than the remembrance and the experience of who I really am. And that's where A Course in Miracles comes in. There's no mentions of like yachts, being a billionaire, things of that nature, because it's not real. And that's what it's teaching. And that like it's, you know, it's just a delay of time of you remembering of what's already transpired, that we're home with God right now. And that love, that superpower of love, and that's what I'm really after. Not from the ego. I don't need anybody to be like, oh my gosh, you know, Gavin's loving. It'd be cool. But like, I want to really experience that point of view like I believe Jesus did, that I can be around anybody at any time and not worry about their words, not worry about what they say to me, not worry about them hurting me, but to absolutely join with their mind, see them as me. And when I say me, not like a body, as God, and see the absolutely undeniable experience, understanding, and absoluteness of love in them. And what comes along with that is that joy and that abundance and needing nothing else. And what I feel like is happening to me, and like the payoff, like I could never understand the payoff of A Course in Miracles. It's like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't sound very fun to not see this world, or to not, I mean, like to trivialize it by saying it's not real and that's an illusion. It just doesn't seem very fun. It seems like kind of depressing. Yet the promise of A Course in Miracles, I'm grasping it, is like all those superpower things that I used to think were cool and that I would need are accomplished to that one-ment, that atonement, that experience of love, that change of perception, that understanding and the expression of who I really am with you and joining with your mind. And there is nothing better. all those other things are an ego device to distract us and to keep thinking there's another level, another object to manifest that is somehow going to make us whole. And that's why it doesn't matter who's in the White House. And that doesn't matter how much money I have or car I drive or political affiliation or job or any of that. That my superpower that I'm developing is to be happy right now in this moment, to constantly join with God, to constantly, and this is how I'm doing it, like over and over asking, my spirit and Jesus to help me remember, to join in this moment, like what needs to be said, what can I bring forth in this moment as the expression of God, of love, of what is real. And as we do that, and we make that our focus and not what's wrong in this world, miracles happen. And the miracles that happen, like, are the experience of who we really are, the evidence that we're looking for, that we can't ignore, that, like, holy shit, like, I can't believe what just happened. Like, that was a miracle. And that shows you're on the right path. And that it shows that your mind is healing. And it's the evidence we're looking for, not the cars. And a car could be a miracle. I mean, it can look so many different ways, but don't get caught in the illusion of the physical world lining up in the way you think it has to line up. For happiness, for joining, for oneness. So I don't always know where these videos are going to go. I have an idea when I come in what I want to talk about, but then I just let it flow, what I'd like to come out from my heart. And I'm developing the superpower of miracle-mindedness, a miracle creator, but ultimately to be in this world as Jesus was, and to come from absolute love, to constantly join with God. And no matter what I see, at number one on the list, I forgive it. Not forgive it from there's anything wrong out there, but to understand that that's my perception and that there's innocence. And as I forgive what's out there, I'm forgiving what needs to heal within me. I meditate a lot every day. I pray with God every day. I ask, again, Jesus, God, universe, to guide me. I give my separate power that I feel like has happened in this world over to God, to join with him and say, hey, I want to jump back into your power, not the separation of, like, needing to manifest something, needing something to go my way, but come from the joy world, the real world, the God world. And then I do my best to constantly remind myself, and I read A Course in Miracles a lot. I do the workbook every morning. And I'm doing videos like this. This is my therapy. So I would love it to hear a comment from you. How are you developing your superpower? What matters to you, whether it's Course in Miracles or not? What are you working on? What are you struggling with? What would you like me to do a video on in the future? Subscribe. I'm doing this to align and join with more mighty companions during a pandemic out there. So I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. Stay above the fray. Remember what's real. Come from love. And it's all unfolding as it should. All right. Much love, my friends. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.